Men can't resist women who detach. Ladies, let me tell you something straight from the heart, but wrapped in truth. There is nothing more powerful, nothing more beautiful, and dare I say, nothing more irresistible than a woman who knows how to detach with dignity. Now listen, I'm not talking about playing hard to get. I'm talking about being hard to forget. Because once a woman learns to remove herself from what doesn't serve her, she becomes unforgettable. See, detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring for yourself more. It's that moment when you realize, I don't need to chase anything that's not chasing me. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. Because a woman who detaches doesn't do it to punish a man. She does it to preserve her peace. She does it because she knows her worth doesn't decrease just because someone else couldn't recognize it. She doesn't cry louder. She walks quieter. And oh, that silence speaks volumes. You want to know what men find irresistible? A woman who isn't waiting around to be chosen, but is instead out there choosing herself. A woman who can say, if love costs me my joy, it's too expensive. She doesn't beg, she blesses and keeps it moving. When she detaches, she disrupts the dance. Because most men, the wrong kind, are used to being chased. They feed on reaction. They thrive on your anxiety. But when you detach, suddenly he's left spinning in a silence he didn't expect. And that's when the chase begins. But here's the secret, sister. You're not detaching to make him miss you. You're detaching because you finally remembered who you are. You're not withdrawing love. You're redirecting it inward. You're not proving your value. You're living in it. Because let me tell you something. A woman who can walk away calmly, gracefully, unapologetically, that woman is a mirror. She reflects a man's true capacity. And if he can't rise to meet her, she won't shrink to stay. This is not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally mature. It's about knowing that silence is a sentence. And sometimes it speaks louder than a scream. So the next time your spirit feels pulled in too many directions, the next time your soul starts begging for stillness, remember this: you don't have to fight harder. You don't have to explain louder. You don't have to convince anyone to see you. You just have to detach. And when you do, not with coldness, but with calm, you become the woman that no man can forget, because peace is the new seduction. Amen. There is a moment in a woman's life, a defining one, when she stops explaining, stops pleading, stops exhausting herself trying to be understood or chosen. That moment is called detachment, and contrary to popular belief, it's not about becoming distant, bitter, or emotionally shut down. No, it's about becoming clear. Detachment in its highest form is not a punishment to anyone else. It is a profound declaration of inner peace, self-worth, and emotional freedom. A woman who detaches is not heartless. She is simply done bleeding for those who keep cutting her. She no longer lets her identity be shaped by someone else's indecision, confusion, or inconsistency. Detachment is her decision to stop watering dead plants and start watering her own soul. It's the subtle but seismic shift from, how can I fix this, to, how can I protect me? And that shift changes everything. When a woman chooses detachment, she is choosing herself, not from a place of arrogance, but from a place of alignment. She realizes that her peace is more valuable than the approval of someone who doesn't truly see her. She stops chasing, not because she's given up, but because she's woken up. She's no longer interested in forcing connection where reciprocity doesn't live. Here's the truth many women are waking up to. Constant effort in the wrong direction is not love. It's self-abandonment. And detachment is the remedy to that. It's not passive. It's not weak. In fact, it's one of the strongest acts of emotional maturity. It says, I trust myself enough to let go of what's draining me, even if I loved it. And men, let's talk about them. Men who are used to codependence, control, or chaos, they notice instantly when a woman detaches. Why? Because her energy changes. She no longer operates from lack. She's not trying to prove her value or win a spot in his life. She has exited the performance. That energy shift is magnetic, not because she's trying to manipulate, but living truth. She's finally living in truth. She's not playing games. She's playing no more. And men who are emotionally immature or ego-driven often mistake her silence for punishment. But it isn't. Her silence is a boundary. Her absence is a result. She's not punishing anyone. She's protecting herself. She's choosing stillness over chaos, self-respect over emotional charity. And when that happens, something profound takes place. The balance of power resets. The woman no longer sits at the mercy of his affection or attention. She becomes the anchor of her own peace. You see, real detachment doesn't come from hate or bitterness. It comes from understanding. It's birthed in those moments where a woman realizes, I cannot keep losing myself to hold on to someone else. So she lets go. Not dramatically, not with rage, but with grace. She doesn't slam doors. She closes them quietly and locks them from the inside. That's the kind of detachment that doesn't need to announce itself. It is felt. And it changes the game, because when a woman no longer needs to be chosen, she becomes unforgettable. Her presence isn't clingy, it's confident. Her love is no longer desperate, it's discerning. She understands now that the only thing more powerful than giving love is knowing when to withdraw it, not out of revenge, but out of reverence for herself. This kind of detachment isn't a threat, it's an invitation to level up. Men who are ready, men who are secure, men who are whole within themselves. They recognize this energy and they rise to meet it because they understand a woman who detaches is not walking away from love. She's walking away from dysfunction. And let's be honest, that kind of emotional independence is rare. It's rare because we're taught that love must be proven through sacrifice, through suffering, through endless tolerance. But detachment teaches a higher truth. Love should never cost you your self-respect. It should never feel like drowning to keep someone else afloat. So no, detachment isn't punishment. It's not cruel. It's clarity. It's a woman saying, I've cried enough. I've tried enough. I've explained enough. Now I choose me. It's a declaration that her peace, her presence, her purpose are no longer up for negotiation. There comes a time in every woman's life when she pauses, not to rest, but to realign. She steps back, not because she's weak, but because she's finally strong enough to say, this no longer honors me. That moment is when detachment enters the room, not with fanfare, not with noise, but with quiet conviction. And in that sacred shift, something remarkable happens. Dignity is restored and balance is born. When a woman stops chasing, she starts reclaiming. When she stops begging, she starts building. When she stops overgiving, she starts overflowing. There is a false belief in many hearts often nurtured by cultured upbringing or fear that love must be earned through effort, that if you give more, prove more, tolerate more, you will finally be seen, chosen, or validated. But that path only leads to depletion. It births relationships built not on respect, but on imbalance. That kind of love costs too much, and it delivers too little. A woman who detaches from that narrative is not giving up on love. She's redefining what love means. She is no longer interested in the kind of connection that requires her to shrink, suppress, or stretch herself beyond her emotional limits. She is no longer impressed by potential. She seeks presence. She's not hungry for attention. She's hungry for alignment. And this is where dignity is restored. Because dignity doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It doesn't negotiate with emotional crumbs. Dignity is quiet. It's poised. It sits on the throne of self-respect and does not descend for drama. The moment a woman decides to stop proving her worth, she becomes priceless. The moment she lets go of the need to be chased, she becomes the one worth pursuing. See, detachment isn't coldness. It's clarity. It says, I will no longer entertain what confuses me, drains me, or devalues me. And with that decision, she changes the dynamic. Suddenly, those who were used to her availability start to feel her absence. Those who were used to her reassurance are met with her silence. And those who were used to her overextension are left to face their own emotional laziness. Because here's the truth, as long as a woman is over giving, someone will under-function. As long as she's chasing, someone will keep running. As long as she's carrying the emotional load, someone will avoid responsibility. But detachment, that disrupts everything. It flips the script. Now, it's not about who texts first or who loves harder. It's about who matches your peace, your effort, your energy. Because once she detaches, the games stop. The drama dies, and only those who are real remain. Detachment clears the room. It separates the emotionally unavailable from the emotionally ready. It reveals who was truly invested and who was simply entertained. And most importantly, detachment creates balance. It restores the rhythm in a woman's heart. No more overthinking. No more waiting for mixed signals to turn into clarity. No more bending into shapes just to fit into someone else's version of love. Now she pours into herself. Now she sets the tone, not just in love, but in life. Her presence becomes purposeful. Her energy becomes sacred. Her time becomes expensive. Men notice. The world notices. Because she's not trying to be impressive. She's being authentic. And that energy draws the right kind of pursuit. The man who was once drawn to her availability may feel disoriented at first. But the man who's grounded in purpose, the one who sees her not as a project to manipulate, but a partner to honor, will rise. He will not fear her strength. He will match it. He will not exploit her giving. He will reciprocate it. Because when a woman returns to her throne, she doesn't invite just anyone into her kingdom. She is no longer ruled by fear of loss, abandonment, or rejection. She is ruled by wisdom, discernment, and peace. Detachment, then, is not the end of intimacy. It's the beginning of true connection. It's the clearing of emotional noise so clarity can reign. It's the restoration of her crown and the balancing of the emotional scales. So if you see a woman who no longer chases, no longer begs, no longer overgives, don't call her cold. Call her centered. Call her healed. Call her home to herself. There's something undeniably magnetic about a woman who is emotionally independent. She walks into a room and doesn't need to dominate the space, yet somehow eyes find her. She doesn't speak the loudest, yet her silence carries a certain weight. She's not dressed for attention. She's dressed for alignment. And here's the secret the mystery people feel around her. That compelling, hard to describe allure. It's not an act. It's the natural byproduct of a woman who is rooted in herself. Emotional independence is not about being cold, aloof, or indifferent. It's not about shutting people out. It's about having a deep, unwavering connection with yourself. A kind of intimacy that's internal before it's external. A woman who embodies this doesn't need to be chosen to feel validated. She doesn't need constant affirmation to feel beautiful. She doesn't need love to feel whole. She is love in motion. She knows that her worth isn't up for debate. It's not based on how someone treats her, what someone says to her, or whether someone stays or walks away. Her value is anchored in truth, not in transaction. And that, right there, is what makes her unforgettable. People often confuse this kind of woman with someone who is mysterious on purpose, as if she's playing a role, withholding, keeping others guessing. But emotional independence isn't about creating confusion. It's about living in clarity. She's not trying to be unpredictable. She's just not performing. She's not reacting from insecurity. She's responding from inner peace. The mystery, then, isn't it something she tries to project? It's something others perceive when they realize, I don't know how to place her, because she doesn't need me to. She doesn't chase, but she's open. She doesn't beg, but she's kind. She doesn't overextend, but she's generous. She knows the difference between availability and desperation, between warmth and weakness, between love and attachment. And because she's moved through her own storms, healed her own wounds, and sat quietly in her own truth, she's not looking for someone to complete her story. She is the story. Men, especially, are drawn to her. Not because she's trying to be hard to get, but because she's simply hard to forget. A woman who doesn't need to be chosen changes the entire dynamic, because most people are used to others seeking approval, validation, or reassurance. But she offers none of that. She doesn't need to be picked. She's already picked herself. And that creates a shift, a pull, a sense of, I want to know her. I want to understand her. I want to meet her where she is. Because she's not easy to manipulate, not easy to impress, not easy to control. Why? Because she doesn't fear being alone. She fears being disconnected from herself. That kind of woman becomes a mirror. She reflects to others their own insecurities, their own unresolved wounds, their own emotional limitations. To some, that feels intimidating, but to the right ones, it feels inspiring. Her presence challenges men to rise, not because she demands it, but because her energy requires it. You don't step to a woman like this with games. You step with intention, because she's not here to entertain confusion. She's here to honor clarity. She's the type who will love deeply, but never lose herself in the process. She will support you, but she will never carry you. She will walk with you, but never behind you. And if it doesn't work, she won't chase. She'll grieve with grace and move forward with dignity. That's the power of emotional independence. It's not a wall, it's a gate. It doesn't keep love out, it keeps chaos out. So when we talk about mystery, don't mistake it for manipulation. The true mystery is how a woman can be so open yet so grounded, so warm yet so discerning, so full of love yet so fiercely protective of her peace. She's the woman who turns heads not because of what she's wearing, but because of what she carries within. She doesn't seduce. She radiates. She doesn't convince. She embodies. And the people who meet her, they either rise or retreat, because her mystery isn't an illusion. It's a reflection of her emotional sovereignty,